dismissive avoidants are some of the most self-contained people you will ever try to reach. They don't just pull away. They pull away and convince themselves they never wanted to be close in the first place. They rewrite the story in real time. And if you ever try to get through to one, you already know that silence feels like the only weapon left. But here's the twist. Silence is not what hurts a dismissive avoidant most. In fact, silence is what she was built for. What actually gets under her skin, what lingers, what she can't quite shake, is something she never saw coming. For years, people believed silence was the most powerful way to deal with a dismissive avoidant. Go quiet, disappear, make her feel what it's like to lose you. But when you actually look at her behavior up close, something doesn't add up, because in many cases, silence doesn't push her away. It makes her comfortable. It gives her exactly the breathing room her nervous system has been quietly asking for. And while you're sitting in that silence hoping she feels your absence, she is reorganizing her life around it like it was always supposed to be there. So here's the question that actually matters. If she fears emotional closeness, if she built her entire identity around not needing anyone, why does she sometimes come back, but only after you completely moved on? Not when you were waiting, not when you were hurting. After, that timing is not random. And understanding why it happens is what changes everything. You're doing this wrong. And it's not your fault, because everything you've been told to do when someone pulls away is the exact thing that keeps you psychologically available to her without you even realizing it. Chasing confirms her story. Going cold gives her resolution. Even the silent treatment, as satisfying as it feels in the moment, is something she is deeply comfortable living inside. You think you're creating distance. You're actually just pressing pause. And in her mind, pause is not gone. Research from the University of California found that dismissive avoidants, despite how unbothered they appear on the surface, show measurable stress responses specifically when they encounter emotional detachment that feels final and self-directed, not performed, not strategic, but real. Their body registers it even when their mind insists nothing is happening. That distinction matters more than most people realize, because it means the thing that actually reaches her is not your absence. It is what your absence eventually turns into. I see this with my clients constantly. Someone comes to me exhausted. Having tried every version of distance they could think of, they went silent for weeks. They posted the right things. They waited, and she stayed exactly as settled and unreachable as before. But then something shifted, not in what they were doing, but in where their energy actually went. They stopped doing things to be noticed and started doing things for themselves. And that is when her behavior changed. Not dramatically, not immediately, but it changed because what she was responding to wasn't the silence. It was a replacement. On the surface, she seems completely unaffected. She doesn't chase. She doesn't reach out. She doesn't react emotionally when you pull back. And when you go quiet, she often does nothing at all, which feels like confirmation that she never cared. But that surface is not the whole picture. There's a pattern underneath it that most people miss entirely. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. She doesn't respond to absence. She responds to replacement. Silence still keeps you psychologically available to her. Even when you're not speaking, even when days go by with nothing, you are still a fixed point in her mental landscape. She knows where you are emotionally. She knows you're still oriented toward her. And that knowledge, even unspoken, even unacknowledged, gives her a kind of quiet control over the situation that she never has to work for. You're not gone. You're just paused. And paused people wait. But when you emotionally detach, when your energy genuinely shifts somewhere else, toward your own life, your own growth, your own sense of what you want, something changes in a way that silence alone never produced. Because now, for the first time, she loses control of the narrative. You are no longer waiting. No longer predictable, no longer oriented toward her, even quietly, and she has no move for that. Her entire relational strategy is built on the assumption that people stay available in the background while she decides how much of herself to offer. When that assumption breaks, so does the strategy. This is where it gets genuinely uncomfortable for her, because what she feels next isn't love suddenly clicking into place. It isn't regret in any clean or simple form. It's something that sits deeper than both of those things and is harder to rationalize away. It's irrelevance. And for a dismissive avoidant, irrelevance is far more threatening than rejection ever was. Rejection she can work with. Rejection means she still mattered enough to cause pain, which means she was still significant, still the one with the power in the dynamic. But irrelevance means the story moved on without her. It means someone who was once entirely focused on her simply found better places to put their energy. And she was not consulted. She was not warned. She just gradually stopped being the center of something. And by the time she noticed, the center had already moved somewhere she couldn't reach. This is why the 5 things that actually hurt a dismissive avoidant have nothing to do with punishing her, and everything to do with genuinely outgrowing the version of yourself that was waiting for her change. Being visibly okay without her, not as performance, but as reality, interrupts the quiet belief she holds that she is more self-sufficient than everyone around her. She expected you to orbit. You stopped, and she noticed in the way people notice things they were certain would never happen. Saying something true without needing her response removes the lever she uses to manage emotional conversations. There is nothing to deflect, nothing to redirect. Just something honest left in the room with no hand held out. Choosing yourself without making it a punishment breaks the internal script she had written for how this ends. She was ready for the storm. She is never ready for someone who simply, quietly begins putting themselves first and seems lighter for it. Warmth that continues without transaction confuses her in a specific way, because she is always scanning for the angle, and when there isn't one, she cannot file the interaction away cleanly. And your growth, real growth, the kind that happened not for her and not because of her, but simply because you redirected your energy toward her own life, is the thing she has the least offense against. She held a quiet belief that you would stay more or less the same while she figured out what she wanted. Watching that belief become wrong is a particular kind of discomfort she did not budget for, because silence can be ignored. Distance can be rationalized. She is very good at both of those things. But knowing that you have emotionally moved on, that you are not paused, not waiting, not quietly available in the background, is something she cannot control, cannot reframe, and cannot simply decide not to feel. And that is why, long after she acted like none of it touched her, she comes back. Not because she suddenly understands love or has figured out how to be vulnerable, but because, for the first time, she felt what it actually means to lose something. Not the idea of you, not the option of you. You, if this video describes something you have been living inside for longer than you want to admit. There's probably a part of you that already knew some of this. You just needed someone to say it clearly. Drop a comment below and tell me where you are in this right now. Are you still in the silence phase, or have you started shifting your energy back to yourself? I read every single one. And if you want to go deeper on how avoidant attachment actually works, what drives it, what breaks through it, and what it looks like when it finally starts to change, the next video is right there waiting for you. It picks up exactly where this one left off.